Alright, so my name is Peter, and I'm going to start with James. My dearly loved brothers, understand this. Everyone must be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. For man's anger does not accomplish God's righteousness. Therefore, ridding yourselves of all moral filth and evil excess, humbly receive the implanted word which is able to save you. But be doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. Because if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like a man who looks at his face in a mirror. For he looks at himself, he goes away, and right away he forgets what kind of man he was. But the one who stares intently into the perfect law of freedom and perseveres in it is not a forgetful hearer, but a doer, who acts. This person will be blessed in what he does. If anyone thinks he is religious without controlling his tongue, but deceiving his heart, his religion is useless. Pure and undefiled religion before our God and Father is this: to look after orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself unstained by the world. Now I'm going to give an excerpt from Ronald Reagan's speech that he gave at the Brandenburg Gate in June of 1987. In the West today, we see a free world that has achieved a level and well-being unprecedented in all human history. In the communist world, we see failure, technological backwardness, declining standards of health, even want of the most basic kind, too little food. Even today, the Soviet Union still cannot feed themselves. After these 4 decades, then, there stands before the entire world one great and inescapable conclusion. Freedom leads to prosperity. Freedom replaces ancient hatreds among nations with community and peace. Freedom is the victor. And now, Soviets themselves may, in a limited way, be coming to understand the importance of freedom. We hear much from Moscow about new policy reforms and openness. Some political prisoners have been released. Certain foreign news broadcasts are no longer being jammed. Some economic enterprises have been permitted to operate with greater freedom from state control. Are these the beginnings of profound changes in the Soviet state? Or are they token gestures intended to raise false hopes in the West, or to strengthen the Soviet system without changing it? We welcome change with openness, for we believe that freedom and security go together, that the advance of human liberty can only strengthen the cause of world peace. There is one sign the Soviets can make that would be unmistakable, that it would advance dramatically the cause of freedom and peace. General Secretary Gorbachev, if you seek peace, if you seek prosperity for the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, if you seek liberalization, come to this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. So now I'm going to give a little talk on gravity. This is one of the problems that I did in physics that had used gravity. So, what is gravity? Gravity keeps us on the Earth. It keeps us from floating away. It keeps our solar system functioning. But as much as we know and see and observe the effects of gravity, we still know very little about it. So the scientific definition of gravity is the attractive force that exists between all objects that have mass. There are 2 main theories for gravity. One theory was invented by Isaac Newton, and it states that all objects exchange tiny particles called gravitrons. All masses like to exchange these particles, and they try to get as close as possible so that they can make the exchange more efficiently. This is a very nice explanation because this is how we believe that magnetism works. Although it does have a problem, nobody has ever been able to prove the existence of gravitrons. The second theory was proposed by Albert Einstein, and it is called the general theory of relativity. This theory states that mass actually deforms space and time around it causing other masses to want to fall down into the hole. In this view, gravity is not a force, but a relationship between mass, space, and time. Most physicists accept this as the answer that explains and solution to gravity, but we still know very little. Okay, I took a class this semester on apologetics, which was a follow-up to Papanik's class on critical thinking, and Mom told me I was pretty brave to cover this topic. So under this topic, we talked about these different 5 points, but I'm only going to cover this one. I don't have time to do any of the others. So many people are concerned that a Christian who believes that people are bound to hell perceive those people to be unequal, less deserving of civil rights. But this concern misunderstands what the Bible teaches about nature and salvation. It goes against what we know of human nature and sin. C.S. Lewis said that the journey to hell is a process that begins with a grumbling mood. No one can look out at a congregation or group of people and tell you who is going to hell and who is going to heaven. We cannot make any settled decisions about anyone's spiritual state or faith. The Bible tells us that we should not judge and we should spend more time with Jesus. Non-believers think that the belief of an eternal judgment makes you narrow-minded. So let me give you a little example. So both Christians and secular people believe that self-centeredness and cruelty have harmful consequences. But because Christians believe that souls don't die, they also believe that moral and spiritual errors have an infinitely greater effect. But secular people do not believe in an afterlife, so they don't think that the consequences last an eternity. So imagine 2 people arguing over the nature of a cookie. Jack thinks the cookie is poison, and Jill thinks that it is not. Jack thinks that Jill's mistaken view will end her in the hospital or worse. Jill thinks that Jack's mistaken view will make him miss out on a really yummy dessert. Nobody would say that Jack is more narrow-minded to think that Jill has a greater consequence for her actions. So Christians are not necessarily narrow-minded because they think wrongdoing and bad behavior has a much greater effect. Any questions about either?
I don't think we're smart enough to
That's
ask.
right.
Yeah.
That's
I don't know what to ask.
I'm impressed.
If you want to ask me after, we have plenty of time.
So the question at the top.
Yes, this is one of the chapters that was in this book, The Reason for God, which is the book that we used. And in the chapter, it had 5 different sections, and these are the 5 sections and 5 different points that we covered on that chapter.
So the question of how can a loving God send people to hell
It's kind of a summary of these different
that
points.
if people ask that, they're really saying one of those things. Is that what Tim Keller's saying?
Kind of. It's more like these are the different points and assumptions and things that people have trouble with when they're asking this question. So like when somebody says, how can love God send people to hell? Well, one of the things that they're concerned about, or one of the things that they believe, is that, a God of judgment can't exist. Or, you can't love and send people to hell. Or, God, a loving person wouldn't want hell. And then that hell, as I gave in this, that it is discriminatory, and it says that some people are better than other people, which is not what we believe. And then this is a very, very common argument is just, I believe that God's just a God of love.
So what about that last argument?
The last one, so saying that you just believe in a God of love is one of the greatest leaps of faith that you can ever make, because there is no religious text or anything that says God is only a God of love. And Christianity is the only religion that has a personal, loving God. No other religion has that. And Christianity also says that God is a God of judgment. You can also, look all of human history and all the things that has happened, and it's very hard to come to the conclusion that God is only a God of love.
Peter, would a person weigh the same amount of weight on Earth as he would on the moon?
Would they weigh the same? No, and the reason is because weight is determined by your mass times the force of gravity. So on Earth, the force of gravity is, the pull is 9.8 meters per second squared, or 32 feet per second squared. So that's how fast. If you have a vacuum chamber and you drop a feather and a bowling ball at the same time, they'll fall at the same rate, because gravity affects everything the same. This is just a formula or an equation that I had that involved gravity and a bunch of these ideas and principles.